The massive Imperial scout vessel emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its golden hull gleaming in the distant sunlight. Commander Pike stood at the bridge, his tall frame rigid with anticipation. After centuries of expansion, the Galactic Empire had finally found another spacefaring civilization, one that hadn't even been noticed until their primitive radio signals were detected a mere month ago. "Sensors, report," Pike ordered, his voice carrying the weight of generations of Imperial authority. "Sir, detecting multiple orbital installations around the third planet. Primitive materials, mostly steel and aluminum alloys. No energy shields detected. Their technology appears to be at least 5 centuries behind ours." Pike smiled. "Another easy conquest for the Empire. Launch probe drones. Let's get a closer look at their defenses." The sleek Imperial probes shot toward Earth, their advanced sensors gathering data. On Earth, deep within the mountain fortress of Earth Defense Command, alarms began to sound. Admiral Reed rushed into the command center, his coffee forgotten in his hand. "Report. Sir, unknown vessels at the system's edge. They've launched smaller craft toward Earth." The young lieutenant's fingers flew over his console, activating Ghost Protocol. Reed nodded grimly. They had prepared for this moment for decades. "Send the standard greeting package. Let's see how they respond." In space, Pike watched with mild amusement as a basic transmission reached his ship. Simple radio waves carrying a message of peace and friendship in multiple Earth languages. "How quaint," he mused. "Prepare the standard Imperial demand for surrender. Let them know their new masters have arrived." Ambassador Gray, the Empire's diplomatic representative, stepped forward. His metallic robes shimmered as he recorded the Empire's message. "People of Earth, your primitive civilization has been granted the honor of joining the Galactic Empire. Surrender your military assets and prepare for integration. Resistance will result in immediate military action." The message was sent. Pike expected the usual response: panic, perhaps some token resistance before the inevitable surrender. What he got instead shocked him to his core. "Sir," his sensor officer's voice cracked with disbelief. "Multiple vessels just appeared. They weren't there a second ago." Pike rushed to the display. Where empty space had been moments before, dozens of Earth ships now hung in formation. They were ugly things by Imperial standards, all sharp angles and dark materials, without the Empire's signature golden sheen. "Impossible," Pike whispered. "Our sensors would have detected their approach." Admiral Reed stood in Earth's command center, a slight smile on his face. "Send our response." A new message reached Pike's ship, this one clear and direct. "Imperial vessels, this is Earth Defense Command. We appreciate your offer but must decline. We suggest you reconsider your position. Our Ghost Fleet stands ready." Pike was about to order an attack when his sensor officer shouted again. "Sir, the Earth ships, they're gone." "What do you mean gone?" "Find them." I can't, sir. It's like they vanished." Pike felt a chill run down his spine as his tactical officer spoke up. "Sir, detecting multiple weapon locks from empty space. Around Pike's scout fleet, the void seemed to shimmer. Earth's ships appeared and disappeared at will, their primitive-looking hulls somehow slipping past the Empire's most advanced detection systems. Ambassador Gray's face had lost its diplomatic polish. "How are they doing this? Their technology is centuries behind ours." "Sir," the communication officer interrupted, receiving another message from Earth. Admiral Reed's voice filled the Imperial bridge, carrying a hint of amusement. "We noticed you're having trouble tracking our ships. Don't worry, that's by design. We'd be happy to discuss peaceful relations between equals. However, if you prefer conflict, we should inform you that your shields are currently targeted by weapons you cannot detect, using principles your science hasn't discovered. The choice is yours." Pike looked at the sensor displays, showing nothing but empty space where he knew Earth's ships lurked. For the first time in his Imperial career, he felt true fear. What else were these humans capable of? In Earth's command center, Admiral Reed took a sip of his now cold coffee. Send word to the Ghost Fleet. Maintain battle positions, but do not engage unless fired upon. Let's give our Imperial friends time to think about their options. The first meeting between humanity and the Galactic Empire had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. Captain Mark Stone sat in the command chair of the EDS Nighthawk, his fingers drumming softly on the armrest. Through the bridge viewport, he could see the Imperial ships hanging in space like golden jewelry against the black void. His own ship, along with the rest of the Ghost Fleet, remained invisible to both eye and sensor. "Status report," he ordered quietly. "All systems nominal, Captain," his first officer replied. "Quantum shroud maintaining at full efficiency. The Empire's scanning attempts are passing right through us." Stone allowed himself a small smile. The Empire had spent the last hour desperately trying to locate the Earth ships, their increasingly powerful scans washing harmlessly through the Ghost Fleet's quantum shroud technology. "Message from Command," the communications officer announced. "Admiral Reed says to prepare for demonstration phase." Stone nodded. "Very well. All hands, battle stations. Time to show the Empire what primitive humans can do." Aboard the Imperial flagship, Commander Pike was facing the worst crisis of his career. His sensors still couldn't locate the Earth vessels, and his superiors were demanding answers. "What do you mean, you can't find them?" The holographic image of the Imperial High Command representative thundered. "They're using primitive technology." "Sir," Pike tried to explain, "their ships simply vanish. It's not like any cloaking technology we've encountered. Our sensors say there's nothing there, not even distorted readings. Impossible. They don't even have basic shield technology." The argument was interrupted by a new alert. Pike turned to see the Earth ships had reappeared, all of them at once, arranged in a perfect sphere around his fleet. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the Earth ships are moving. But this can't be right." "Explain," Pike demanded. "They're pulling maneuvers that should tear their ships apart. No inertial dampeners could handle those forces." Stone watched with satisfaction as the Ghost Fleet executed their carefully choreographed dance. The Nighthawk and her sister ships spun and weaved through space, performing turns and accelerations that defied the Empire's understanding of physics. "Send the demonstration package," Stone ordered. Across space, Imperial sensors recorded impossible data as Earth ships seemed to pass through each other, split into multiple copies, and accelerate without any visible engine flare. "How?" Ambassador Gray whispered, watching the display. "How are they doing this?" The answer came in the form of a simple text message. "Quantum probability manipulation. We don't need inertial dampeners when our ships exist in multiple states simultaneously." Pike felt his worldview crumbling as he watched the Earth ships perform their impossible maneuvers. Everything he knew about physics and space warfare was being challenged by these supposedly primitive humans. "Sir," his sensor officer shouted in panic, "one of their ships just appeared inside our fleet formation." The EDS Nighthawk hung serenely between two Imperial cruisers, close enough for Pike to see the stark angles of its hull through his viewport. By all rights, such a maneuver should have been suicide. But the Earth ship had simply bypassed all defensive formations as if they weren't there. "Message from the Earth vessel," the communications officer reported, voice shaking. "Put it through," Pike ordered. Captain Stone's voice filled the Imperial bridge. "Commander Pike, we hope this demonstration has been educational. As you can see, our understanding of physics might be different from yours, but it's far from primitive. Admiral Reed awaits your response regarding peaceful negotiations." In Earth's command center, Admiral Reed watched the sensor displays with satisfaction. The Ghost Fleet had performed perfectly, demonstrating humanity's capabilities without firing a single shot. "Message from the Imperial flagship," an officer reported. "They're requesting terms for peaceful contact." Reed nodded. The Empire had just learned an important lesson. Never judge a civilization by its apparent level of technology. Humanity had taken a different path in its development, and that path had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Imperial War Council chamber buzzed with angry voices as the highest-ranking members of the Empire's military establishment argued over the human problem. Massive holographic displays showed footage of Earth's ghost fleet performing their impossible maneuvers. "It must be a trick," General Ward insisted, his fist striking the polished black table. No civilization could advance from primitive radio signals to quantum manipulation in less than a century. Dr. Anna West watched this debate from Earth's quantum lab deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, where Imperial communications were easily intercepted by human quantum receivers. She smiled as she adjusted her simple lab coat, remembering how the Empire's golden-robed scientists had dismissed her work just days ago. "They still don't understand, do they?" she asked Admiral Reed, who stood watching the intercepted transmission with her. "No," Reed replied. "They can't accept that their path of technological development isn't the only valid one." The Imperial War Council's debate continued. A stern-faced scientist was speaking now, pointing at analysis readings. "Their ships don't even have energy shields. They're protected by mere layers of metal and ceramic. Metal and ceramic that our sensors can't penetrate," Commander Pike reminded them. After his encounter with the Ghost Fleet, he'd been summoned to testify. "And need I remind the Council that their ships can apparently exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously?" In her lab, Dr. West moved to a large window overlooking the testing chamber. Below, a new Ghost Fleet vessel was under construction. Unlike the Empire's smooth golden ships, this one was angular, black, and seemed to shimmer in and out of existence even as workers walked around it. "Should we tell them?" she asked Reed. "About why we chose this path?" Reed shook his head. "Let them figure it out. They need to learn that bigger isn't always better." Back in the War Council, a junior science officer had been granted permission to speak. "We've analyzed their technology as best we can. They don't try to force shields through space-time like we do. Instead, they slip between the moments of time itself. Our weapons can't hit them because by the time our shots arrive, their ships are technically in a different quantum state." Pike nodded. "That's why they don't need our level of power generation. They're not forcing their way through space. They're gently stepping around its rules." The council chamber erupted in fresh arguments. On Earth, Dr. West pulled up the original designs that had led to the Ghost Fleet. Simple sketches and equations filled the air around her in holographic display. "We tried their way at first," she explained to Reed. "Big power generators, energy shields, brute force. But Earth doesn't have the resources for that. So we looked for another way, and found it in quantum mechanics," Reed finished, "using less power to achieve more effect." In the council chamber, Pike was speaking again. "Their ships don't need to be stronger than our weapons. They simply aren't there when our weapons arrive. It's elegant." "Elegant?" General Ward spat the word. "It's an affront to proper military doctrine." "And yet," Pike continued calmly, "their primitive kinetic weapons, simple metal slugs accelerated to near light speed, pass right through our shields, because our shields are designed to stop energy weapons, not physical objects moving in quantum flux." Dr. West checked the final calculations for the new ship below. "Ready to test the improved quantum drive, Admiral." Reed nodded. "Show them what else humans can do." In the council chamber, alarms suddenly blared. A human ship had appeared in the heart of Imperial space, impossibly far from Earth. "How?" General Ward demanded. "Even with their technology, they can't cross that distance so quickly." Pike watched the sensor readings and smiled slightly. "I think, General, we're about to learn that everything we know about space travel might be wrong too." As the council erupted into chaos, Dr. West initiated the test sequence. The new ship in her lab flickered once, existed in 1,000 places simultaneously, then vanished completely. pushing the boundaries of physics in ways the Empire had never imagined possible. The massive Imperial battle fleet emerged from hyperspace near Jupiter's orbit, their golden hulls reflecting the distant sunlight. 300 ships strong, it was the largest fleet ever assembled for a single conquest. General Ward stood on his command bridge, confident this overwhelming force would finally put the upstart humans in their place. "All ships report ready," his aide announced. "No sign of human vessels in the system." "Of course not," Ward smiled. "They can't possibly defend their entire system. Begin advance toward their Mars colony." Deep within Jupiter's swirling storms, Captain Stone and the Ghost Fleet waited. The EDS Nighthawk hung suspended in the gas giant's atmosphere, completely invisible to Imperial sensors. 50 other human ships floated nearby, their quantum drives allowing them to ignore the crushing pressure and violent winds. The Empire took the bait, Stone reported to Admiral Reed via quantum comm. "They think we've abandoned the outer system. Proceed with Operation Thunderstrike," Reed ordered from Earth Command. "Show them why we chose Jupiter as our battleground." In space, the Imperial fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Their scanners swept for human ships, but found nothing. General Ward was about to order the first strike on Mars when his sensor officer shouted in alarm. Multiple gravity distortions, massive readings from Jupiter. The gas giant's storms suddenly intensified. Massive lightning bolts, each thousands of miles long, crackled through its atmosphere. Then, to the Empire's horror, a portion of Jupiter's storms began moving against the planet's rotation. "Impossible," Ward gasped. "No one can control a gas giant's weather." The EDS Thunderchild, humanity's newest ship, rose from Jupiter's clouds. Unlike the other Ghost Fleet vessels, it made no attempt to hide. Its quantum generators were fully focused on manipulating Jupiter's gravity and atmosphere. "This is Captain Jane Hill of the Thunderchild," a calm voice transmitted to the Imperial fleet. "We've spent years studying Jupiter's dynamics. Would you like to see what we learned?" Before Ward could respond, the Thunderchild fired its gravity pulse. A concentrated stream of Jupiter's atmosphere, accelerated by artificial gravity fields, shot toward the Imperial fleet like a lance of plasma and storm. "Evasive action," Ward screamed, but it was too late. The Jupiter strike slammed into his fleet's formation. Energy shields, designed to stop lasers and plasma weapons, did nothing against the gravitationally accelerated stream of metallic hydrogen and storm energy. 20 ships vanished instantly, torn apart by forces they had never been designed to resist. As the Imperial fleet reeled from the first strike, the Ghost Fleet emerged from their hiding spots within Jupiter's clouds. They appeared and disappeared at will, their quantum drives letting them treat the gas giant's killer storms like calm space. "All ships, open fire," Stone ordered. The Ghost Fleet's kinetic weapons struck with devastating accuracy. Ships firing from within Jupiter's atmosphere used the planet's gravity to accelerate their shots to even higher speeds. Imperial shields flashed and died against weapons they couldn't detect until impact. "This is impossible," Ward raged as another strike from the Thunderchild scattered his formation. "They're fighting inside a gas giant, using the planet itself as a weapon." On the Thunderchild's bridge, Captain Hill watched the battle with professional satisfaction. Gravity control wasn't just about space travel. She transmitted to the Imperial flagship. "We learned to manipulate it because we needed to understand how gas giants work. Jupiter has been our training ground for decades." In Earth Command, Admiral Reed and Dr. West monitored the battle. "The Empire forgot something fundamental," West said quietly. "Humans have always learned to use our environment, not just power through it." The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, half the Imperial fleet had been destroyed, and the rest were in full retreat. The Thunderchild stood triumphant in Jupiter's storms, while the Ghost Fleet vanished back into quantum uncertainty. "Message to Earth Command," Captain Hill reported calmly. "Jupiter space secured. The Empire's main fleet is in retreat. Minimal damage to all human ships. Operation Thunderstrike complete." The Battle of Jupiter would go down in history as the day humanity proved they weren't just equal to the Empire. They were beyond it. The Imperial Palace's emergency council chamber had never seen such chaos. Admirals shouted over each other, while scientists waved data tablets frantically. The defeated Jupiter had shaken the Empire to its core. Half our battle fleet destroyed. An admiral slammed his fist on the table. By savages hiding in a gas giant's storms. Commander Pike stood calmly in the center of the storm of voices. After his first encounter with the Ghost Fleet, he'd been promoted to Special Advisor on Human Affairs. Now he watched the Empire's leadership crumble with a mix of concern and fascination. "They're not savages," he said quietly, but his voice cut through the chaos. "And that's precisely our problem." The room fell silent as Pike walked to the main display. He brought up images of the Battle of Jupiter, showing the Thunder Child riding the gas giant's storms like a surfer on a wave. "We've been looking at this all wrong," Pike continued. "We judged them by our standards, but humans didn't follow our path of development. They didn't try to overpower nature. They learned to work with it." In Earth's diplomatic center, Dr. West and Admiral Reed were preparing for their first official visit to the Imperial capital. They watched the intercepted feed of the Empire's council meeting with interest. "They're finally starting to understand," West said, adjusting her simple uniform. Unlike the Empire's ornate clothing, Earth's diplomatic team wore practical, unadorned attire. "Should we show them the rest?" Reed nodded. "It's time. Captain Stone's mission should be reaching their core worlds now." Back in the Imperial Council chamber, a young officer burst in. "Emergency report. Human ships detected in the Centauri sector." "Impossible." General Ward, still nursing his wounds from Jupiter, stood up. "That's thousands of light years away. Even their quantum drives can't." He was interrupted by another officer. "Sir, human ships in the Orient sector." Then another. "Signatures detected in the Carina arm." Pike watched as the reports flooded in. The Ghost Fleet had somehow spread across the galaxy, appearing in dozens of sectors simultaneously. The Empire's carefully maintained power structure was being shattered by ships that seemed to ignore the basic rules of space and time. Captain Stone stood on the Nighthawk's bridge, deep in Empire territory. His ship hung invisible above their largest shipyard, watching the panicked activity below. "All ships report ready," his first officer said. "The quantum network is stable." Stone nodded. Dr. West's latest breakthrough had allowed the Ghost Fleet to exist in quantum synchronization across vast distances. Each ship could potentially be anywhere, or everywhere, at once. In the council chamber, Pike raised his hand for silence as a new message arrived. The humans had requested a full diplomatic meeting, not as supplicants, but as equals. "They've been watching us this whole time," he realized aloud, "learning our weaknesses, our patrol routes, our defense networks." The Battle of Jupiter wasn't just a victory, it was a demonstration. The council chamber erupted in fresh argument, but Pike noted something interesting. The younger officers and officials were nodding thoughtfully. They had grown up with stories of imperial superiority, but now they saw a chance to learn something new. Dr. West and Admiral Reed boarded their diplomatic vessel, a small Ghost Fleet ship that would deliver them to the Imperial capital in moments rather than weeks. "Do you think they're ready?" West asked. Reed smiled slightly. "They don't have a choice. The Empire built itself on the idea that their way was the only way forward. We've shown them another path exists. Now they have to choose, adapt or become obsolete." As their ship slipped into quantum uncertainty, ready to appear directly at the Imperial capital, both humans knew the galaxy would never be the same. The age of Imperial technological supremacy was over. The time of human innovation had begun. The Imperial capital world gleamed like a jewel, its golden towers reaching toward the stars. In the grand reception hall, Empire officials waited nervously as the human diplomatic ship appeared directly through their supposedly impenetrable planetary shields. Dr. West stepped out first, followed by Admiral Reed. Their simple uniforms stood in stark contrast to the Empire's ornate decorations. Commander Pike noticed something else too. They seemed completely at ease, as if they'd been here before. "Welcome to the Imperial capital," the Emperor's chief diplomat said, his golden robes shimmering. "Though I must protest this unusual arrival method." About that, Dr. West smiled, pulling out a small device. She pressed a button, and suddenly, the entire hall was filled with holographic displays. "We need to talk about what's really been happening." The displays showed thousands of ghost fleet vessels spread throughout Imperial space. But these weren't recent images. The timestamps showed they were from years ago. "Impossible," someone whispered. But Pike felt a chill as he realized the truth. "We didn't just develop quantum technology recently," Reed explained calmly. "We've had it for decades. Those primitive radio signals you detected, a carefully crafted deception. In space, Captain Stone and the Nighthawk emerged from quantum space near one of the Empire's most secret facilities. His crew knew what to look for. They'd been watching this base for years." "Send the signal," Stone ordered. Across the galaxy, every ghost fleet ship simultaneously revealed itself. They were everywhere, near military bases, shipyards, even the supposedly secret Imperial research facilities. Back in the reception hall, Dr. West continued. "We knew the Empire was expanding, knew you'd eventually find Earth. So we prepared, watched, learned. Those primitive metals you detected in our orbital stations, simple covers hiding quantum technology." The Imperial officials stared in shock as more displays showed human observers who had been living among them for years. Scientists, traders, even some minor diplomatic staff. All gathering information, all completely undetected. "Your quantum technology," Pike said slowly, "it doesn't just hide ships, does it? It hides everything." Finally, West smiled. "Someone who understands." "Yes, Commander. We can quantum shift anything. Ships, people, even information. We've been accessing your most secure networks for years." In his secret base, Captain Stone downloaded the final piece of evidence, the Empire's deepest secret, the reason for their endless expansion, their obsession with power. His quantum computers broke through security that the Empire thought unbreakable. "Dr. West," he transmitted. "Package delivered." In the reception hall, West opened the stolen files. They showed the Empire's dark truth. Their golden technology was failing. Their brute force approach to physics was reaching its limits, consuming more resources with each passing year. "You need our help," Reed said quietly. "Your way of doing things, forcing your will upon the universe, it's unsustainable. You've known this for centuries, haven't ever you?" The Imperial officials looked at each other in despair. Their greatest secret, the weakness they had fought so hard to hide, had been known to the humans all along. "How long?" Pike asked. "How long have you really been watching us?" "Since your first colony ship entered our detection range, 50 years ago," Reed answered. "We let you think you discovered us. Let you think we were primitive. Because we needed to know, would you come as friends or as conquerors?" Dr. West's device projected one final image, a complete map of every Imperial military installation, defense system, and secret facility in the galaxy. "You chose conquest. We chose preparation. And now you have a choice to make." The Imperial capital fell silent as the truth sank in. Humanity hadn't just developed different technology. They had outmaneuvered the Empire at every step. What had seemed like a simple conquest had been an elaborate trap. And now, finally, the Empire understood the true meaning of human ingenuity. 1 month after the revelation at the Imperial capital, the combined fleets of humanity and the Empire gathered around Jupiter. Golden Imperial ships floated alongside dark ghost fleet vessels, their crews watching in amazement as the EDS Thunderchild demonstrated humanity's mastery of gravitational control. "Incredible," Commander Pike said, standing on the Thunderchild's bridge as a guest. You're not just riding the storms anymore. You're conducting them like an orchestra. Captain Hill nodded, her hands moving across the gravity control interface. The quantum technology lets us feel the gravitational waves. Once you understand them, controlling them becomes almost like dancing. In the Imperial Palace, now open to human diplomats, Dr. West worked with the Empire's best scientists. The vast chamber had been transformed into a collaborative research center where golden-robed Imperial researchers worked alongside humans in simple uniforms. The problem was perspective, West explained, showing them quantum equations. You tried to force reality to obey you. We learned to ask reality to dance with us instead. Admiral Reed stood with the Imperial High Command, watching live feeds from joint training exercises. Human ships phased in and out of quantum states, while Imperial vessels learned to adapt their tactics to work with, rather than against, the fabric of space-time. Your empire's not dying anymore, Reed told them. You just needed to learn there was another way forward. Deep in Imperial space, Captain Stone and the Nighthawk led a mixed human-Imperial task force. They were testing new hybrid technologies, combining the Empire's power generation with human quantum control. Watch this, Stone told his Imperial liaison. The Nighthawk accelerated, its quantum field now glowing with golden energy borrowed from Imperial tech. Together, we're stronger than either of us alone. The Emperor himself, for the first time in centuries, had left his golden tower to visit Earth. He stood in Dr. West's original laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, looking at the simple sketches that had started humanity's quantum journey. All this time, he said quietly, we thought power came from domination. But you showed us it comes from understanding. Around Jupiter, the combined fleet began a new kind of exercise. Imperial ships practiced using minimal power, learning to slip through space rather than tear through it. Ghost fleet vessels experimented with Imperial energy systems, finding ways to enhance their quantum fields. Look there, Pike pointed through the Thunderchild's viewport. A new ship hung in space, the first joint human-Imperial design. It combined the Empire's golden aesthetic with human angular stealth surfaces. Its quantum drive worked in harmony with Imperial power cores. The first of many, Hill smiled. We're calling it the Bridge class, bridging our two approaches to space. In Earth's quantum lab, Dr. West made a final adjustment to her equations. There, she said to the assembled scientists, with your power generation and our quantum control, we can reach other galaxies. Together, we can explore further than either of us could alone. The Emperor nodded. And this time, we'll go as explorers, not conquerors. Admiral Reed received the final reports from across the galaxy. The Empire's worlds were stabilizing, their technology renewed by human innovation. Human colonies were benefiting from Imperial infrastructure and experience. The war that never really happened, he mused, ended up saving both our civilizations. Captain Stone, watching the new Bridge-class ship testing its systems, smiled as it flickered with quantum energy wrapped in a golden glow. We showed them our way, he said to his crew, and they showed us theirs. Now we're forging a path that's better than either. As Jupiter's storms raged behind them, the combined fleet prepared for their first joint long-range mission. Humans and Imperials worked side by side, their differences becoming their greatest strength. The galaxy would remember this as the moment when two different paths of development finally merge, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. The Empire had learned to bend rather than break, and humanity had gained allies who could help them reach even further into the cosmos. Together, they looked to the stars, ready to explore them not with force or deception, but with shared wisdom and mutual respect.